Yes, you're watching the South Australian Sports Show. Well, probably one of the greats of South Australian horse racing. One of the best trainers we have had has just decided to retire because he's got a bit of spare time. John Bashar has been good enough to come in and say good day. John, how are you?
Thanks, Phil. Good.
Retirement, mate. Why would we retire? We're still successful.
Well, you get to a 70 year of age and you just got to pull the pin when you're still going all right.
We've got a bloke that hangs around a bit, 77, called KG Cunningham. We can't get rid of him. So you're at the other end of the scale. When you reflect back, though, you know, it seems an awful long time. For you, it's probably just gone like that.
Yeah.
But there's been some probably standout moments. Some standout moments.
Like, growing up in Semaphore Park, I had Colin Hayes one street.
Yes.
Albie Holbert in the next street.
Yeah.
I mean, you had no hope. You had to join.
That's it.
Had to join horses.
Well, you talk about Semaphore. Now, you used to accommodate a lot of people who would come over from interstate.
Yep.
Who was the strangest? Was there any of them that just were right into superstition with their training and stuff like that?
Well, I had a horse there called Rip Van Winkle with Michael van der Kamp. He was just a little bit odd at times. Some of the things he done with that horse was a champion. And he just was a learner that got a good horse. And it went on to win derbies and feature races. And
So how much is it? How much is the expertise of the trainer up against the quality horse? How is it?
The horse makes the trainer.
Sure, yeah. A little bit like a coach in a football side.
Today, this year, like in the last 10, 15 years, every trainer feeds good.
Yes.
And every trainer looks after a horse. So it's not down, it's down to the fact that if that horse has got the ability and it's a good horse, it'll make the trainer look even better.
Couple of favourites for you? Did you have a couple of favourites?
Horses?
Over the journey?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought Our Savant's a lot.
Wow.
Courage Under Fire.
Oh.
Thorate, Werner Warrior. They were just great horses.
What made them special? I mean, obviously other than winning, what was unique about them?
Well, they just were, the conformation of them, the size, the ability they had. They were just good bred horses, the standouts, the features of them, well handled. Like you could train them without worry. They wouldn't kick, they wouldn't bite. They were relaxed, and they just like there's thousands of horses that go through the ring, and only a percentage of them get to the races.
Yeah.
Let alone become how many reckon you've trained over the journey?
Horses?
Yeah.
Oh, several, probably a couple of hundred.
Couple of hundred, but four or five beauties. The numbers are not great, are they?
Rip Van Winkle was a freakish looking horse. He looked like a dinosaur with his arched neck. And, the bloke went to the sales, Rip Van Winkle, with a couple of guys, and they bought the wrong horse.
Oh, is that right? And that's what
They bought
happened?
the wrong horse for $7,000. Wow. And the bloke knocked it down. He said, "No, that's not the one we want." It was by Thor Hanover, and the bloke said, "Oh, we'll take him anyway."
It's amazing. There's some great stories, and your mate next to you there, Rocky Butterworth's a bit of a fan of the industry. But Rock, but well, in a lot of ways too. But you know, it's not a shame to see where harness racing. No, you know what? It is a shame to see where harness racing is at the moment in SA compared to the glory days of the 70s. You know, it really is.
I've said this before to JB last time we caught up. I was cleaning out a room at home, and I came across a harness racing program from Globe Derby in 1987.
Yes.
And they were racing for 5,500 on a Saturday night.
Yes.
And 30 years later, they raced for between 2.5 and 7 on a Saturday night. Oh, wow. So there you can see why it's really hard to keep people interested in ownership, training horses, breeding horses.
Yes.
It's become really tough to make a living out of it, which JB did for many, many years, but it was back in the days where you could set a horse up for a plunge, and JB was very, very good at that. Very good at getting the names for his horses at trials and getting them on ready to win a race, but they would make their money punting as well as getting really good prize money. But now it's tougher because trials are much more regimented.
And prize money is the incentive, I guess, for ownership, because you have no chance of getting a return on your money. Everyone wants to have a good horse, but they want to make money with a good horse.
I was paying $10,000 in the mid '80s for horses from New Zealand.
Yeah.
You couldn't pay $10,000 now for a horse to race at Globe Derby.
No.
You wouldn't get it back unless it was a freak.
Yeah.
And so you can't ask 4 blokes to come into a horse for 10 or 20 grand and say to them, we're going to get this money back, because you'd be lying to them.
Yeah.
So you've got to be.
What changed, Johnny? What changed the dynamic? Was it betting that came in?
Was it the shift?
It was the shift mainly years ago.
Shift, yeah.
But
Online
they
punting.
bought, you know, the corporates came in, bookmakers went out, television rights came in.
Yeah.
We stuffed up once there with Sky Channel. When Sky Channel first came to air, the certain people went with sports play.
Yes.
And Sky Channel were free to each state. But South Australia choose not to take it. Now that was a $600,000 a year.
Yeah.
It's knockback.
Yeah.
So that was a real kick in the guts.
Yeah.
Having said that, JB, there's no reason for it to stay down where it is. You just need, to me, you need people who are ready to do absolutely whatever it takes to get things back right at Globe Derby. Now, the change from Wavell, where people used to catch a tram and there'd be 10,000 people at Wavell because it was the same as Victoria Park with Poppy when you used to run the races. People could walk down there or go there for a few beers on a Friday night. And harness racing is way more exciting and way more family friendly than thoroughbreds or greyhounds.
You're up closer.
So they can get back on their feet. They just need to take a risk. The old story, spend some money to make a lot of money.
Well, we're not in the right place. I mean, we're in the scrub. We're in an infested, mosquito-ridden Globe Derby, Bolivar. We went from the city, which is the leading state of Australia for harness racing in Wavell.
Yes.
We went from there to the scrub. And no one wants to go there. If you drive past Globe Derby, it's all bushes out the front.
Yeah, you wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know. So the promotions and the way the government don't look after you.
No.
But the government never been on our side, and the people we've employed there haven't been able to do the job because where are you going to get the money?
Yeah.
I mean, in the end, it's a little bit like looking at footy last year. You know, moved from West Lakes to Adelaide Oval. Suddenly, the big crowd. And just listening, you go, we need to get from Globe Derby. We need to put it back in Wavell.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's no question.
Can that be done?
It can. It can.
So what would stop it from being done?
Nothing. All you've got to do is just sell Globe Derby.
Yep.
You'll get several developers that want to buy it. And you go back onto an 800-metre track at Globe Derby, which has been designed by architects
Wavell.
at Wavell.
Yes.
Sorry. And you've got the lights at Globe Derby, whack them back up there.
Yeah.
And put it in the city again.
Yeah.
The thing at Globe Derby, Phil, is the tracks are bigger all around Australia now, and some of them in Sydney are 1,400 metres. Wavell is 510 metres, so they zing around all day. But back when you were there, JB, they had fields of 20.
Oh, yeah.
Wavell on a 500-metre track.
Albie Holberton had 20 runners one night.
Yeah.
20 runners at Wavell.
Wow.
3, 4 lines.
I mean,
six.
I'm sitting here talking. If it was at Wavell, I'd be tempted to go and have a look.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go down and have a look. But when you say it's at Globe Derby, I'm not like,
Well, Phil,
it's an effort to get out.
the architects drew up a plan at Wavell. Now, the concrete stand can go. The old cattle pavilion that's been there 200 years, that can go. They can make the track 850. We only race on 850 now.
Yeah, and you know what too, though, I think you mentioned it too, you can't afford to pay to get people involved, but if there was some sort of government incentive to even absorb some of the workers we're losing from Elizabeth, who are low-skilled workers who could come into the industry, it's almost finding positions, because there's plenty there if the incentive's there. So rather than paying these people unemployment, subsidise them being involved in something like harness racing, and I felt the same for thoroughbred racing as well, but you know, the government is very hesitant to go too close to gambling, you know.
Well, they don't care if...
They don't mind taking the money, mind you.
Well, they don't care if we run trots or not.
No.
Yeah.
Their objective and their main priority is poker machines.
Yeah.
They don't care about the sports.
No.
The poker machines net them millions.
Yes.
The sports have got to defend for himself. You're a club, you've got to make that club pay.
Yeah.
And how can you do it without support?
We need to get to a break because they're winding us up frantically. So we're going to have part 2 again.
Okay, let's do part 2 again.
Questions, so if you want to hear the full story about Dave, you're going to have to watch 2 weeks running. Stay with us, a bit more to come.